All right, let's go. The problems that we face here in America today, it's not an America issue. It's a global issue. Everyone in the world is fighting the same exact battle. The rest of us, normal people out in the world, we don't want that. We don't want to be bothered. Just let us live our damn lives. All right, let's go. I wish I could sing and dance because it's one of those things where I don't know. There's something about music, and there's something about the ability to bring joy to people's lives. That's just so amazing. And the hardest part about music is that all the joy and the love that it spreads throughout not only your heart but throughout the world, it brings such a darkness with it. And that's what I always get stuck on because music is supposed to be that is shared, and it's like the language of the world, and it's what we kind of unites everybody. And the fact that people can use music to do evil. And we've seen the videos, we've seen the clips, we've seen this Taylor Swift with her satanic rituals on stage. We've seen all these everywhere. The imagery, the symbolism. And I worry because a lot of you guys know I have a very young daughter. She is a year and a half. And as babies do, every time she hears music, she wants to dance. She wants to sing and dance and go around circles. She can't even talk, but she understands music. Children, even without the ability to speak words, understand the beauty of music. And to take something that's so innocent, something that's in us, in all of us, and to weaponize it, I think that may be the most evil thing out there because it's supposed to be so pure. And the fact that there are people, that there are bad actors, because we know this, and everyone here watching the stream, everyone here on the show tonight, we understand that we are in a spiritual war, that it is a war of good versus evil. And tonight's guest, who we have today, I don't know her background too far, but I do know that as of today, she's on our side. She's on the side of good, doing the best she can to help out the community. And I think I'm so blessed to have her on the show today. I'm so grateful that she's on here. And the first time I was really introduced to her, actually, I saw a documentary she made about an album that she had to self-produce. And a little bit of context, I'm sure we're going to get into it, but a little bit of context, right? Signed by Jay-Z, signed by Rock Nation. I mean, that's big as you get. Signed with Jason Derulo and not wanting to participate in kind of the crazy rituals that they have, and dropped because she didn't want to sell her soul. Watch the first 5 minutes of the documentary she made that she self-produced because she had to make it on her own because the record labels wouldn't get involved. Watch the first few minutes and then we'll bring her in. But check this out, all right? Check this out, guys, and we'll come right back. I think it's worth watching. I really do. Let's watch this first.
No, 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 no. Everything is wrong, 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 wrong. I think it's time for a permanent getaway, getaway. So toxic in the air, I can barely breathe. I can barely watch the streets, yeah. I think it's about that time. Why they denying?
Hi, I am Emaza, and I am 10 years old. And we can sing, we can dance, and we've been practicing here for a while. So.
I need you to be okay with not everyone understanding the grace and the anointing anointing that is on your life. It might just be you and God for a season. Don't worry, soon enough, everybody will see what God saw.
Freedom for all mankind!
We do know that global energy systems, food systems, and supply chains will be deeply affected.
People who are useless, not from the viewpoint of their friends and family, of course, but useless from the viewpoint of the economic and political system. And this useless class will be separated by an ever-growing gap from the ever more powerful elite. We humans should get used to the idea that we are no longer mysterious souls. We are now hackable animals.
There's a war going on, the battlefields in the mind, and the prize is the soul.
Ooh, I'm bringing you in. There you go.
Hi.
Emaza Dilan. Is it, did, my,
What an intro.
did I butcher your name? Emaza Dilan.
Emaza Dilan. Yeah, you're actually the closest that anyone else has pronounced it lately.
I actually saw you made a song and you said something like, everyone's always messing up my name.
Yeah, no, they'll do Emaza, all types of stuff. But I mean, it's cool. You know, if people mispronounce it, then that's all good because if they try to wish bad on me, they won't say my name right and then it won't work.
Well,
Yeah.
welcome to the show. Welcome to the stream. Super grateful that you're here. You know?
You had me crying. You
I-
had me crying.
I was
before I
watching the
even-
green room and you were crying. Why are you crying?
Because you know, just the acknowledgement of everything that I've done, being signed to Jay-Z, and you know, if we're gonna talk about Illuminati, satanic, you know, they'd like to throw his name in there, right? And I was able to accomplish all that, having my parents involved, my family involved. I've never had to sleep with anyone. I've never had to sacrifice anything. So to fast forward to now, and all that was taken away from me because that's what was asked of me. You know, I didn't have to do it with or underneath one of the biggest rappers of all time. So why would I have to do it for Jason Derulo? So and then just having to be forced to create my own album. I had to engineer. I had to learn how to produce beats. I had to learn how to just put everything together, and it was a bit of a challenge. Also, waking up, you know, starting at the top of 2020 when the pandemic broke out. So I achieved a lot of this stuff throughout this chaos, and then to come to find out that, you know, we're still fighting, and it's within our own field, within our own mind, and I'm always going to choose God at the end of the day. So, if I can use my platform to let people know this is what's going on, I'm gonna do it.
So I guess I just want to start at the beginning, right? Because when you're first getting into music, I'm gonna assume that you had no idea what the music industry was really like.
No, not at all.
Like, what
You
was it
know,
like first getting signed to Rock Nation? Gee, I mean, if you're a young girl getting into R&B and hip hop, that's gotta be like the pinnacle. I can't imagine a sign like bigger than that. Is that the top?
it felt like the top for me
Hmm.
as far as like, I mean, giving a little backstory of the connection with Jay Z. My mom was actually pregnant with me, when probably like 25 years ago. I'm 25. I
Hmm.
forgot my age. I don't know why. But she actually ran into Jay Z, when she was pregnant with me at a concert, and he rubbed her belly and everything, and then 25. Well, during that time, it was 20 years later. I was signed to him, and I was actually able to tell him that story.
Hmm.
So these are the people that you looked up to. Growing up playing their music. My mom played all type of music. We've always watched BET Awards, Grammys, MTV Awards. So music was like like as you said in the intro, music it touches people, it reaches people. So in our household, it was a time to get away from the negativity and drama and the stuff that was going on when I was younger. So to be able to fulfill that dream and actually be amongst these people that you've seen achieve so many goals and are doing what you're doing and is able to be a mentor, like that's crazy, so yeah, it's been wild.
And then you moved to Jason Derulo because he was creating his own record label under Atlantic
Yeah.
Records. And I think there's a
Mhm.
lawsuit going on. Is that still a thing?
Yeah, so I'm currently in that right now. I don't know how much I can say. I mean,
Hmm.
I know that I've spoken on what happened, so obviously that's public knowledge. But um, in 2016, 17, I actually had a showcase with Atlantic. And they were interested in signing me and my sisters when we were a trio. There was three of us at the time. And the producer we were signed underneath didn't want us to continue to work with Atlantic. So that was that whole situation where we had to get out of. And then, so fast forwarding to Jason, he was also interested prior to me and my sister signing to Jay Z. So right before that, and also when it was the trio as well. So him reaching out to me after we disbanded, and I'm independent. I'm like, okay, well, Jason's always been interested. Atlantic wanted to sign us years ago. So I'm like, okay, these two people that have always been passionate or wanting to work with me, my sisters, want to try it again. I'm like, this is a full circle moment. It should be smooth sailing. I'm responsible for myself now that I'm solo. So it's all about how hard I work. You know what I'm saying? So I thought this was going to be super fast and, a fun journey to be on and around passionate people that came to me about signing me. I didn't reach out to anybody about, hey, are you signing anyone? I was approached off of the video and content I was doing, over the pandemic in 2021 and 2022. So, yeah, that whole situation, I had to get therapy.
Hmm.
And this is my first time like on a public, conversation
Yeah.
about this, um, because it's that bad. I cried about this yesterday. um, and it just sucks because you can't kind of replay your mind. You're like, did I do everything right? And my mom has to constantly remind me, like, you left that situation together. You didn't sleep with nobody. You didn't sacrifice nothing. You left whole. You know what I'm saying? And now that I'm standing up for myself with this lawsuit, I'm showing people, hey, you don't have to sell your soul. You can stand on what you believe in. You don't have to be scared. You see what's going on with Cassie. She's coming out about Diddy,
Hmm.
and it's a common thing that's going on in the industry. And they did the whole Me Too movement with the acting department. So I wouldn't be surprised if more females start coming out. But it's a shame that we have to deal with this in 2023. you know, and the root of it is Satanism. You see Sam Smith, you see Doja Cat, you see Megan Thee Stallion. It's it's like on crack now. Like people have to like pledge their allegiance through their music, and that's all they're doing now is to force feed it to the people. I'm not going to do that. You know, my mom actually had a conversation with my A&R at the time during the deal, Aton Ben Horn, and they wanted me to get new management. So once again, trying to take away the people that are they're supposed to protect me, which were my parents. I got them involved because I didn't feel safe around Jason, because I didn't feel safe around, you know, these people. So, but that didn't stop us from being cooperative. So my mom's like, yeah, we can get new management, just set up the meetings. And my mom was like, but the only thing she's not doing is anything Illuminati. And he just sat there and stared at her and didn't have anything else to say. So you didn't deny that was something that you guys were expecting. But, you know, if management, you guys wanted to get new management, we can sit down and talk, but I'm not going to do anything that I shouldn't be doing or don't feel comfortable doing. And we didn't get to take no meetings after that. So, you know, yeah.
So, I mean, this was 2021. When do you feel like you became more aware of kind of what's going on in the world? Because you're 25 now, at 21, you would have been 23, right? That's on the relatively younger side to even kind of be thinking about these things. Because usually when you think of people in their early 20s, they're not thinking about these types of topics. It's kind of, these are topics that kind of change the way you see the world, right? These are usually for maybe a little bit of the older generation, people that once they have kids, they start worrying about a little bit more. But when you're early 20s, you're kind of thinking, okay, I want to have fun. I want to live my life. I want to party a little bit. And I want to do the most with what I have. When do you feel like that switch turned for you?
Definitely when the whole pandemic started rolling out. You know, we were all spooked because um, we just got signed to Jay-Z's label Rock Nation in 2018. So that was during Trump's administration. So things were very well economically. You know, money was good. Gas prices were low. You know, went to Coachella, brand deals, and all this other stuff. And then 2020 hits, and all of a sudden there's this new virus, and you know, there's talks about this vaccine. And my mom, thank God, she's a smart parent. She got a hold of Alex Jones, and he's, you know, basically she went down the rabbit hole and, you know, finding out you could put two and two together. It's not really hard about who's the bad guys and who are the good guys. And, you know, especially if they're forcing us to take vaccines, like there's a lot of events I couldn't go to because I wasn't vaccinated. We had a reality show in the works with Facebook, and they wanted me and my whole family to get vaccinated in order to move with the show. We didn't do that. There was a performance, I think for like Biden at the time, Justin Bieber, and you're hearing Justin Bieber's on one of the performers. That's a good look, right? But they wanted us to get tested for COVID. My mom's like, we're not taking the test. So the whole entire pandemic, you know, being on lockdown in California, because California is just the whole, like, it's not even America anymore. It hasn't been for a long time. And, you know, we were in lockdowns and, you know, 8 o'clock, everyone has to be in. And I have videos of me looking across from my apartment to another apartment complex, and we would be like little prisoners, like, ooh, 8 o'clock, we're all inside. We did that for like a whole week, you know, trying to be, you know, positive about the whole thing, but it was a whole joke. You come to find out masks don't work, and, you know, the numbers weren't adding up. And, you know, my brother had got sick at one point, and they were trying to, you know, put some tubes down his throat, and, you know, doctors weren't really prescribing the right, you know, treatments for certain things. And, you know, once the happiness is taken away, I feel like, I know for me and my family, we kind of like started seeing everything for what it is. And you know, another artist in the industry, she posted something about like the whole like the elite families, the bloodlines, and all that stuff. And I stayed up like all late hours just watching the whole documentary, and I'm like, oh, this is really happening. So this is 2020. And then you know, I would post, you know, Alex Jones stuff, and then I would have people hit me up like, oh, he's racist and da da da. And mind you, I don't really watch the news.
Yeah.
and I got hip to Trump. And I was like, wait, the only things I can say about this man is exactly the same stuff that they're pushing on the news, and everyone's saying the same thing. And I went to go look into it and found out that not everything that, I don't think anything that they're saying about him is true, or they don't have any facts, not to my knowledge. So, I'm a pretty good, I can feel energy and my intuition. I really stand by it. And I watch interviews, I read articles, even with my documentary, like, Klaus Schwab
Mm.
and Yohari, that's how you pronounce his name. I don't know how you say his name, but these people work with artists in the industry to push these certain agendas, and I didn't realize how bad it was until I actually had to be on set with Sierra. And Sierra is somebody that I grew up watching and wanted to be her. And they were making people take COVID tests. And, me and my mom stood our ground and we're like, hey, we're not taking the COVID test. We can leave. And the production team were like, oh, you don't have to leave. We're not going to make you guys came all the way over here. And I was like, all right, cool. And then she pops out and kind of looks at me and with her team. And I'm hearing other girls a part of it. And I'm like, did you guys have to get tested for COVID? And they're like, no. So they were trying to make me take the COVID test. And I've never taken a COVID test, throughout the whole pandemic. So it's just like when people start forcing things or, getting out of the norm, which I'm used to. And that's why I know you brought up being a young person, having these ideas and, this mindset. It's a blessing. And my mom tells me, she's like, you're lucky, you're getting it early, because there's some people that are in their 30s, 40s, and 50s now just figuring it out, or after a couple COVID shots and, or after doing things or going down a route that they weren't thinking about when they were younger. So
Do you think that while you were kind of passing on opportunities, because there were legitimate good opportunities, I mean, Justin Bieber, Sierra, I mean, these are, if you're an aspiring artist, this is top of the food chain type stuff. And your mom kind of implanted in your mind, like, maybe you shouldn't be messing with these vaccines, messing with the shots, messing with the tests. You shouldn't have to comply. Was there a part of you that was like, damn you, mom?
Oh no. My mom is like my twin. I would expect her to be like, no, she was not gonna let me do that at all. She's lived her whole entire life, and she said, I've never experienced anything like this. It doesn't sound right. So I'm very grateful. A lot of people think that I'm brainwashed, or I don't think for myself. And, at first it used to make me upset, but my whole entire family, we witnessed it going into grocery stores and Barnes and Nobles, and people would chase us down saying, you need to wear a mask, or we got kicked out of a market for not wearing a mask. And, now we're not wearing masks anymore. And Dr. Fauci saying that masks work, but then masks don't work. And, I had to get a religious exemption just to go inside stores, and, other people around me would see me stand up to these people, even my mom, saying like, we have rights, and they're like, where did you get that pass? And I'm like, this sounds like the freaking Holocaust. You got to show papers in order to go inside somewhere. And it's, like, I feel like in today's society, what's uplifted is, I feel it's like la la land ideology, and it's okay to think like that versus saying, hey, I'm going to wait out and see how this vaccine plays out, or what happened to my body, my choice. You know what I'm saying?
That's the crazy part of it, right? Like, there's a huge segment of the country that's like, my body, my choice, my body, my choice. And I get it. Fine. Your body, your choice. And then it's like, accept this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, like, it's for the person that's like outside looking in, especially for guys on the outside looking in, it's like, what just happened here? You say something for so many years and screaming it at the top of their lungs, but when it comes to something else and it's your body and your choice, they're like, no, you don't get that. And I think it's the hypocrisy of it that really messed with people's minds. And I think that's what woke a lot of people up, the hypocrisy, right?
Yeah.
You say one thing for another and then you do another. You say one thing and you do another. And then certain people live their lives a certain way, but they tell you got to do it differently. I remember in 2021, this was like one of the moments that really messed with my head. Do you remember Obama's 60th birthday party?
Yes. And when all the celebrities came out.
All the celebrities went out to Martha's Vineyard and
Yeah.
everyone was partying, and they made everyone take down the pictures from their social media because they didn't want it out there. And you look around and everyone's having a good time, everyone's partying, the Obamas are dancing the night away, and the only people wearing the masks were the servants.
Mm.
And I was like, that's fucked up.
Yeah.
That really blew my mind.
Similar to the Rams
Mm.
stadium when all these it was like a picture of our mayor at the time, Mayor Garcetti, and what's his name, Magic Johnson, and all these celebrities unmasked, but I believe the people in the stands had to wear the mask. And then Gavin Newsom, he had his winery shoulder to shoulder, no mask on, and like you would think a lot of people, they like to pick and choose what is, like you said, my body, my choice. So, okay, abortion, you feel my body, my choice. So those people that think that way, don't you think that you should be able to say if you want to wear a mask or not?
Mm.
These politicians and celebrities are not wearing them, but you have to wear them. Like, doesn't that, how does that make sense, or how is it fair to you? You know what I'm saying? And maybe it's because these people, they look up to them and they idolize them, or they're under that programming of, well, they can wear it because they're my faves, and I'm underneath them, or they're fine being at a lower tier. It's like, I thought all men were created equal.
Mm.
And so I voiced that a lot. Like, it's not fair that these people feel like they can go around and have parties. They were turning people's lights off, water off here in California for having parties during the pandemic, but you guys were having your own parties. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's the hypocrisy for me.
So let's fast forward then to kind of what happened in 2021. Because 2021, you're signed with Jason Derulo. You're supposed to be kind of the lead artist to kind of roll out this new production. A lot of resources are being put behind you. They're spending a lot of effort. You're recording, you're in the studio. And then all of a sudden, things go south really fast. Why don't you kind of just walk us through that just a little bit?
Yeah, so after oh, is it cutting out?
I think
Can you
you're
hear me?
good. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. So after the group disbanded, me and my sister, Jason had reached out to me and was asking, hey, I'm about to do a joint venture with one of these labels. The main one's Atlantic. Do you want to sign to my label? And I'm like, yeah.
Of
So I've
course.
already had this previous, I had a showcase kind of in front of him with me and my editors back when it was the trio. So we've already had a relationship of like knowing each other and interested in working. So I'm like, okay, great. The opportunity is with Atlantic, and I was really, really, really on board because Atlantic is a major label. Got Bruno Mars, who I love, Ed Sheeran, and all different type of artists. So I was like, okay, I feel like they don't have an artist like me, and with Jason's backing and TikTok and the tours and all that stuff, the brand that he's going for, I'm like, I feel like it aligns with mine. So we started creating the music. And in order to create the music, I would have to go to a studio. And this, I believe, was the 2021, starting like end of August, September ish. And he would be Ubering me to these sessions, and the sessions would be from like 9 p.m. to like 2 o'clock in the morning. And, I felt at first like, okay, comfortable because my mom, met him, and, he has this clean, pretty much
Mm.
image. So like, I'm not thinking of anything. And so I'm going there, really excited about the music, and the music, great. Probably some of my best work that I've dealt with people in the industry. So that was like kind of the game changer for me. If I have like really good music that I love, because it's really hard to come across music that you can connect with or fits your vibe, because I'm a new artist and I want to come out with something that's different, not like everybody else. I had that with him. Um, and then as the sessions started moving forward, I started getting text messages of from him, like, hey, do you want to come to an only members lounge with me? Are you going to drink with me? And, I told him, I'm not much of a drinker. As soon as I come to a session, he's pouring cups of alcohol. And, I'm like, okay, he didn't get the message the first time. So he's obviously advancing. I'll just take a sip and just don't really drink. You'll be at the club and you'll like, oh, fake like you're taking a drink at the club and you're not trying to do that. That's my go-to was.
Mm.
And I took a sip of it and I told him, oh, this is strong. And he takes a sip of it and he's like, oh yeah. And then he does what he does with the drink away. I didn't drink after that. But I didn't like that feeling because if I don't want to do something, and I tell you, I shouldn't have to like repeat myself. And most people, when you decline their offers, they get offended, and you don't know people, you don't know what makes them tick or anything. So I wasn't trying to be a problem for anybody. I was trying to be cooperative and not offend no one. So within these sessions, something in my chest, like I can feel it now,
Mm.
telling me, you got to tell this man, this is your moment right now. Don't tell him that you're not going to do anything, no sacrificing, no nothing. So I told him I wasn't going to, be sacrificing or going against my morals in order to move forward in my career. And he makes a comment in front of his engineer, because it's only us three in there in the studio. Oh, you might have to do goat skin and fish scales. And it got quiet, and I'm in the booth, mind you, and I'm just like, like kind of, all right, is anybody else going to say anything? His engineer kind of like got quiet too and was like looking around, and you got Jason laughing like it's a game. I'm a believer in Christ. I believe in God, so I don't play with stuff like that. And that was a moment where you see stories now of the symbolism and what people do at parties. You don't know what people are capable of, but I took that chance and was like, hey, if it ends here, it ends here. Now, this is before my showcase, and I've already had so many songs put in. Atlantic's excited, and I'm like, I work so hard. Maybe I can just maneuver around it, and just make sure I have my mom involved here on out. And we had the showcase, and before the showcase, I told my mom this stuff, the goat skin and fish scales, and I didn't know what it was at the time. Fish scales I heard of was cocaine, and I'm like, well, I don't do drugs, like. So but I couldn't figure out what the goat skin was until a little bit later, and that's a Haitian ritual of goat sacrifice and sex rituals. You have to have sex with the devil. So and he is Haitian, and I've had people on my page saying Haitian rituals are real and stuff like that. I've looked at articles, and it is a part of their culture. And it requires blood, sex, and all that stuff. And YSL, Young Thug, the rapper, he's trying to get a goat ritual taken out of his case right now. So I'm like, I can't be the only one. Am I crazy? That's why I was in therapy, to like make sure I was not crazy. My therapist confirmed. She's like, I want to let you know that I've done studies, and the stuff that you're talking about is real. So and someone that is involved with things like that is super scary now looking at it, because at any moment anything could have happened, because I was going to these sessions alone. So I had the showcase in November of 2021.
Is it possible? I'm sorry, I just want to ask
Go
a
ahead.
question.
Yes, stop me at any time. Yeah.
Is it possible that it was just said in like passing, like it's not a real thing and it's just something to say? Like, is that a possibility? I'm just curious. Like, how real did that moment
Him
seem?
laughing at it, I thought that he was just bringing up a joke, but something like that, if I was serious about what I said about not sacrificing. So him, in response, him saying that, he had any time to clear it up, but he didn't. He stand by that. He didn't want to further elaborate on it. And like I said, as a woman of God, and like now you hear these stories, like that stuff is real, and I'm gonna just let you know I'm not gonna do that. So I'm like, maybe if you tell them first, then you won't have to do it. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe if I'm bringing my parents involved, it'll stop that that type of energy from happening. And that's what I did, was got my parents more involved, because I didn't feel safe.
Did you
And
feel like a pressure building? I mean, because it's a big moment in your career, and to take a stance on something that could have possibly, and I'm not trying to belittle the situation. I'm just trying to get a better understanding of like how much pressure is really given to these types of situations. You know what I mean?
It was very, very intense
Mm,
when I experienced those sessions because it really wasn't that much dialogue outside of the vocals, and then the only dialogue is stuff like that, right? And I know that he would walk me to my car, and when you know you see movies and they walk you to the door and then maybe they expect a kiss or they expect something like that, and I couldn't even look this man in the eyes like that because I didn't want to make any situation out of anything.
mm.
And to the point where after, moving forward in those sessions, I would rush out the session, not even give him time to even walk me to my car because I just did not feel comfortable at all. So it's it's a known thing too with people in the industry. They want to take you out to dinner and meet and da 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 da. And I'm just here to, about the business which you asked me for.
Whoa, we just lost her. I don't know what happened. She just got disconnected. Um, I don't know what happened. We just lost her. Oh, she's coming back. We got you back.
If that's them trying to mess with my stuff,
Trying to turn you off.
at this point, you know what I'm saying?
Can I
No,
tell you?
I'm gonna say this right now while it's publicly,
Yeah.
or public. I don't have no shadow of a doubt that there's people watching me and don't want me sharing this information. I have people telling me, "Hey, they kill people for saying this
Mm.
stuff." This is considered my activism and my humanitarianism, the word, whatever. Yeah, I'm a little flustered because that spooked me out. But
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I did an interview, or I had a conversation with the QAnon shaman in the same week. I had a conversation with the QAnon shaman, Jake, and then in this 2 days later, I had an interview with the guy who was trying to blow up not blow up, bad choice of words. The guy that was trying to put out the information about the missing plane that he believes the US government has a technology to create wormholes and to make items teleport and create infinite energy. Crazy, crazy stuff. So I had those two happen in the same week. And after I did the conversation with the guy talking about the government cover up of wormholes and technology, the next morning I wake up. It's like less than 12 hours later. Less than 12 hours later, I wake up and my internet doesn't work. So I call AT&T. I'm like, hey, my internet don't work. Can you send somebody? Or can you fix it? What's going on? And they're like, we have to send someone. I'm like, since when do you have to send someone to fix your internet, right? Fine, send someone. He comes, like fiddles around outside for like 2 or 3 hours. And at the end, he's like, oh, I got it all fixed. I got to go inside. I got to take a picture of your modem and router. And I'm like, why? Why do you have to take a picture of my modem and router? And he's like, I'm supposed to. And I thought, I was like, fuck, do I let this guy in my house or not? So I let him in and watched him like a hawk. He took a picture. And at this point, I'm probably being tracked and they're probably listening to me. But they don't need to do all this to track you and listen to you anyway. And sometimes I think maybe it's just for the show, right? Just to make you feel like this is a possibility. And if you think that's a possibility, maybe you'll slow down. Maybe you'll self-censor yourself, possibly. These are the things I think about. I don't want to live paranoid because I'm not a paranoid person. But sometimes things are just too coincidental, you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't trust anyone. I don't know if you heard about that one story about that judge that was working on a certain case and a FedEx driver shot the judge or something like that. I don't know if it was regarding Epstein or something,
Uh.
but yeah, I get paranoid over like Amazon, UPS, and stuff. Because I'm like, what if someone just drops off a bomb? And you don't know. But I mean, like you said, you can't live paranoid. Just be cautious and aware. But home is a sanctuary. It's supposed to be your safety. And once that's disturbed, then you have a problem. So.
And you live in LA, is that right?
Yeah, LA area.
And you're where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Iowa.
Midwest
so I was
girl.
there till like I was 8 or 9 and came out
Okay.
here, and I've lived my rest of my life out here. So yeah.
So you talked about we talked a little bit about some other people in the industry that
Mhm.
are known for kind of the symbolism. Who do you think the worst actors or the worst ones are? If I was a parent and I'm trying to figure out what music I should not allow my kids to listen to, who would be on that list of do not mess with them?
I would say anyone that tries to go for a younger market.
Mm,
Um, so like Little Nas X, they really did a number with that one because they had him performing at schools.
really?
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, they had perform, but not now. But I'm saying when he first
Before?
started, he was doing the clean cut.
Mm,
You kind of got to watch these artists and see how they play out. Maybe a couple albums, and then next thing you know, they're flipping. But I think now it's like within the first week they're signed, and that's they've done expedited that. So, um, my mom's here, by the way.
okay. Hi,
I want
mom.
to get her opinion.
Hi,
What
mom.
would you say? I mean, Sexy Red. Okay, Sexy Red. Yeah. All of them. Well, yeah,
All of them.
all of them, basically.
Don't listen to music,
I
kids.
no, I mean, I know you just followed me, but I had dropped a diss towards
Mm,
Doja Cat and all the female rappers that are out right
mm,
now, and that did like 13 million on Twitter, not from my account.
mm.
They got me really shadow banned because how is it going to do 13 million on somebody else's but not mine?
And no one
But
comes
they posted
towards yours.
right,
Yeah.
and everyone was like, "Oh, who is she?" And everyone knows on the Twitter community,
Yeah.
they know who I am. But I'm calling it out for what it is, and she's on an interview with Ebro, I believe, talking about they're calling me a Satanist. When did I say I was a Satanist? You put out a record called Demon. You have Satanist tattoos. You
Yeah.
had a Eyes Wide Shut birthday party. You know what I'm saying? It's stuff like that is just very annoying because it's like you know what you're doing and you'll do it, and that's what these elites do. They'll do it and just say that they're not doing it.
Mm,
And they're coming after your kids. Even with Sexy Red, right? She's telling people that she has STDs and coming out with a lip gloss line with disturbing names, and the youth is being pushed through TikTok and you know I would just say everybody, but I mean, as far as like mainstream,
mm,
I listen. My mom put me on a lot of country. There's a lot of country artists that have good music. You kind of just got to really dig deep. The ones that are not really mainstream, I would say look towards them because if they're selling something or they're sponsored by Monster or they're sponsored, like you kind of just got to connect what events are they at? Are they at UNICEF? Are they,
mm.
they're tied in somewhere, and they'll have a symbolism. You'll see it, but
I'm
yeah.
just thinking about it. Would you want to buy lip gloss from a girl that is talking about STDs? I feel like
No,
I
and
feel
here's
like
the
that's
crazy
not something
part.
I
I
would
don't
want
mean
in
to
life.
cut you off. You have Little Nas X that put his blood in that shoe, right?
Mm,
Blood in a product. She says she has STDs.
mm.
Don't you think maybe she'll put some of her fluids in the gosh dang lip gloss? You ever thought about that? Like, that's weird. That's so weird to me. And they're being pushed, and everybody wants to be like that. And it's people in my generation, and I apologize on the behalf of them because they are a mess. And I'm trying to do my part and just show everybody like, hey, this is what's going on. You don't have to be like that. And I feel like that's why a lot of older music is becoming more popular
Mm.
now because they're trying to get away from the music has no soul, and that's you need to have one in order to like feel the soul. So yeah, it sucks for music right now, but then it's also, my mom brought it up, it's like a renaissance, like we're creating the new, and even just connecting with people like you, with artists as well, like that stuff's happening. So I feel like throughout time we'll be able to find people that are not selling the agenda.
Do you feel like there's a shift in, I'm going to say, because you're, I don't know, do we call you Gen Z? Is that correct?
I looked at my year and I am in Gen Z.
So you are in this
Sadly.
infamous Gen Z that everyone talks about.
Yes, but you know what? I've been told I'm an old soul, so I really don't count. But
But
I
do you
am.
feel like there's a shift? Because for years, everyone's like Gen Z, they only care about TikTok, they only care about this. But then I'm starting to look around, and the younger generation is starting to get more conservative because, well, the extreme liberal left, and it's getting pushed, right? And the thing about being in your late teens, early 20s, mid 20s is that if they tell you this is what you have to believe, naturally people are like, no, I'm going to believe the opposite, right? I want to believe in punk rock. I want to be the opposite of what you tell
Mhm.
me to do because damn the establishment, because that's what you think historically forever. Between 16 and 25, all you think is damn the man, right? Don't tell me what to do. And they're saying you have to believe this. You have to, you know, and they're looking around. They're telling me I have to love Joe Biden. It doesn't make any sense. I can't get behind that. And I feel like there's a shift, but you know better because you're closer to kind of that demographic. You understand what's going on the streets more. What do you think?
Um, I feel like more people are waking up, and within my generation, there's ones that are just in there very, very deep
Mm.
and are going to have something hit them in the face for them to figure out, or there's ones that are gonna be almost got caught, and I feel like the more people like me, I would say, that have some sort of like, oh, she dances, does challenges, and she does music. She's pretty hip, but she believes this. She thinks this way. Let me see about it. I feel like that'll help.
Mm.
But I mean, I don't know. When I go on TikTok and I just see how the stuff that goes viral, and then I'm like, so many young people are on TikTok. So I don't know. I don't know about. I don't. It's like 50-50.
Because you were
Um,
at one point a big TikToker. Do you TikTok a
yeah.
lot?
Well, they started shadow banning me when I was liking the stuff. So I'll get an algorithm of like the conspiracy
Mm.
theories, and and that's a problem because we should be able to like anything. And my mom was doing a lot of research about the social credit scoring and the stuff that was going on in China. And I know that Trump was trying to fight for TikTok to be a U.S. company.
Mm.
So I don't believe it is though, right? Is
No.
it still okay? So, I learned that other countries are getting different algorithms according to TikTok. So when I'm scrolling, and I'm in a demographic of younger girls
Mm.
from teens to maybe early 30s, and I'm seeing the stuff that they're pushing out to them, and I'm like, if people continue to go with this thinking, they're gonna go down a path that they're not going to be happy with.
Hmm.
So,
I think that would be a really interesting experiment for one day to like
yeah.
go through because I have a young daughter. So I think about this stuff all the time, right? Because I'm concerned for her future. I want to know what she's going to encounter. And obviously, what's happening now isn't going to be relevant in, say, 15, 18 years. But I feel like if I don't at least think about it, then I'm going to get so far behind that I'm going to have no idea what's going on. So I'm trying to stay like just a little bit relevant, because otherwise, so far separated, you have no clue. I think it'd be a really fun experiment one day to like go through what's in your for your page, and be like, what are 18 to 30-year-old girls getting on their feed? Because let's be real, there's not a lot of 18, 30-year-old girls in our demographic. I mean, in our community, this is not
Hmm.
something that it's really popular with, right? I'm curious to see what that demographic is being fed. And maybe I'm going to want to rip my hair off and I'm not going to be happy and I'm going to get really depressed. It's possible. But I think maybe one day we'll do it. But you can share your for your page and we'll be like, oh, what are you watching today?
Right. My advice off of my experience with social media and then growing up in a family of, more girls and stuff like that. If when I have kids,
Mm.
they're not having no social media. It's to the point where I kind of like, you don't want to consume. I mean, it just depends on your algorithm. And I'm trying to figure out how to change mine as well, as I get to know new people. But I feel like these companies will slide in certain things for
Mm,
younger kids. I know that there's a whistleblower coming out about Facebook and Instagram, how there's these pages of pedophiles,
mm,
with trafficking or trying to lure girls in. I know there was a video on TikTok, and this guy was trying to get this little girl to come to his place, and her mom actually intervened and was able to stop that. So, not to scare you, but I think of all of the possibilities, and I rather not have to like deal with stuff like that. So I just nip it in the bud and be like, yeah, let's learn a trade. I'm actually on my way to do that once I leave California. I want to be able to be, skillful in different things. But also, part of my career, what I do online. That's why I kind of backed up with TikTok
mm.
because, I feel like it doesn't really favor people that think like me. But then again, you just kind of have to figure out if you're going to keep on going or not. So
You're
I'll
gonna
see
need
what.
like a ghost account. Like you
Right,
need your.
right.
It's funny because there are you know relatively, I would say, famous people that follow my account or follow my page on Instagram, but they don't follow me from their main account
Mm,
because they don't want people either A to know that they're following me, or
mm-hmm.
B because they don't want to get stuck in like the bottom of the algorithm, right? But they'll message me and like, Matt, like I just want you to know, like I can't follow you publicly, but I support you. And I'll always mention them back. What a bitch move, right? Because if people like you who have real reach, because a few 100,000 people, it's not real reach, right? Real reach are the accounts that have like 3, 4, 5, 10 million people, right? This has real influence and can actually make a real difference in the world. For you guys to stay quiet and silent when you know in your mind that you can make a difference, when you know in your mind that something isn't right, but for you guys to hide behind it because you're worried about your fame, it's bullshit. You guys don't care, you know? And I'm like, I don't care. I don't care if you guys are following me because I feel like you're the reason that we're here today, right? If during
Yes.
2020, 2021, the people who had the ability to stand up and say no, the ones that knew something wasn't right, and there's a ton of them, right? People are like, this is bullshit. I don't agree. But they stayed so silent and they didn't say a damn thing. And for them to be like, oh, yeah, I support you, but like quietly, like, fuck off. Like you have the opportunity in life to do something with your life, to make a difference, to change the way. And if you have children, especially, aren't you concerned about, and you are, because that's why you're listening to me, that's why you're following me, because you are concerned about the way of the world. But to do nothing, I think it's so weak, it's so shallow, and I wish more people would stand up. Because if everyone stood up and said enough is enough, if more people stood up and said, I know we're not supposed to say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. If everyone stood up that believed it really did it, they can't cancel everybody. What are they going to do? Take away everyone's account? Who's going to follow? Who's going to buy their shit? Who's going to listen to their music? Who's going to watch their movies? Who's going to, give them their likes and follows and all these things that everyone cares about? There's nobody left. If everyone just stood up for what they believed, it's so simple. We would have solved 80% of the problems of the world if people just stood up for themselves, which is why I love what you're doing.
I appreciate it, and I 100% agree because I deal with that myself. I'm very connected in the industry, and especially when I have my little moments where I
Mm.
rant on my story, and all the celebrities that follow me, they go to my page and they watch every story. So, and I'll say some slick stuff too, and it's like, stop being scared, just
Mm.
speak out. And I've had people tell me, hey, keep on fighting, Emaza, when I'm going to listening parties and stuff like that. And I actually had a conversation with Jason Derulo, and we were speaking about Spotify and how they're basically robbing
Mm.
artists, with the stream situation. And I'm like, why doesn't just everybody just stand up and say something? And he's like, everyone's scared. So if everyone is scared about speaking up against streams and
Mm.
Spotify, they're not going to be out here saying, "Hey, don't take the vaccine," which he's not. And I told him, I said, "Hey, don't have your child. I'm not going to have my child take the vaccine." So there's celebrities in this that are not taking the
Mm.
vaccine, but yet they're pushing it. Kiki Palmer's pushing it. I think Mariah Carey pushed it, and Ariana Grande, Meg Thee Stallion, and I'm like, do you guys not know that these shots are killing people or giving them diseases and whatnot, and they don't care because they're getting a check. And that's why I respect Trump, because he's a billionaire, right?
Mm,
And he didn't have to become president. He could have just said, "F everybody, I'm gonna go away and be happy." But he's been constantly in the way from the elites and us regular folk. You know what I'm saying? And he's lost a lot. You know, I've lost a lot speaking up about this stuff. So that's why I can connect to you. I can connect to people like him. And like you said, yeah, these people need to do better because they're part of the reason why. If we all just stand together, but then I understand too, these people have films on
mm.
them, and been honeypotted and all this other stuff. So you know, they're laying in their bed that they made. So it sucks, but hopefully, I mean, you start seeing more people kind of speaking out, trying to itch their way to this side now.
Yeah.
And you kind of look at them, they're like, the whole entire time you were selling the agenda. Now you want to come over here, or people that live in California, celebrities, they know California's going to shit. Crime's up. Homelessness, drugs, and you got Gavin Newsom over here thinking that he's going to become president, and
Mm.
we had a recall for him. We didn't want him in. I mean, I'm going all over the place, but this is the stuff I just be thinking about besides music. And people are just like, "Oh, Emaza, just focus on your music
Mm.
and get big and then use your platform." It's like, no, that's gonna be, you do it now. It's happening now. Like we need to. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, I know. Like, I've never been famous in music before, so I have no reference. So, with a grain of salt, right? Because I may be giving you the worst advice ever, the worst opinion, or the worst take. Because again, not a good singer. But I think in this world, in a digital age, with clicks and views economy, and with everyone so sick, I can feel it in the air. People are sick of being lied to, right? And I think as we go to a more AI driven society where everyone's going, I mean, AI only AI OnlyFans models are making like crazy money. They're not even real, right? As people move towards a more digital economy and more digital society, people who are able to do it analog, people who are able to move people with their words, with their music, with really human generated things are going to have the utmost value because value is in rarity. And as everything becomes digital, people who do it the opposite will have the most value. That's what I think. So you're going to see a huge shift with all this digital art. The guys that take really good pictures, photographers, they're going to have real value again. Because for a while, no one was thinking about photographers because everyone has an iPhone, right? I'm going to take a picture. Why do I need a photographer? I can do it. I have portrait mode. Like what do I need people for? But as everything goes digital, everything starts to look the same. Everything starts to sound the same. People are going to look for things that are original and genuine and authentic and comes from the heart. Because again, rarity is value. And it's going to become a huge rarity in the world. So I think that's what I would do if I were you. Stick to exactly what you do, how you do it. I mean, I've seen your previous clips of other things because I was like, okay, like who is she? Like, let me get some context. You like to have fun. You're like kind of silly. Like you enjoy life, and that's natural about you. I would go back to kind of just that because as time goes on and as people get more depressed, more stuck into the matrix, they're going to be looking for anything that resembles real to help pull themselves out. Because once people are all stuck in the hole of the matrix, they're going to be like, "Ugh, this is depressing in here. Everything looks the same, And I think that's, if I were you, probably the road less traveled, probably the longer road ahead. But I think in the long run, it has more value because that's what I've tried to do. Everything I do online, I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. I just do it. I just do what feels natural to me. I just say what feels natural to me. And over time, people are like, you know what? Seems like he's honest. He seems like he's genuine. Seems like what he's saying is coming from a good place in the heart. And because of that, I'll mess with him. I feel like that's the way to do it. But again, music is different. What do I know?
No, you're totally right because even with the brand with me and my sisters, that's all that we sold was happiness. You know, we were supposed to be the getaway from for young girls that are going through, you know, their high school horrors or, you know, middle school. We would give advice and just kind of be that beacon of light. And, you know, throughout the time I've, you know, from then till now, I've been through so much, you know, with my family and just even with this lawsuit with Jason. You know, I lost my joy making music. I lost my joy in creating content because I'm like, what am I gonna do? Like my whole life's in shambles. You know, I have to start from square one again, and you know, I have to be that light for myself. So that's kind of what I've been doing this past year is just like regaining and recentering or recentering myself and you know regaining that balance because you know no one's perfect, everyone's life is different, and you know I at least owe that to myself to kind of just you know step back and like analyze everything and be like okay you can always come back and you know so that's what I'm on right now
Mm.
is trying to be happy again. It gets a little scary because I am in California, so a lot of the stuff happens here first and I've got to experience it firsthand with the discrimination, medical tyranny and all that stuff. So but if I can get through it, that means anybody else can. So you
It's
know, I'm
true.
here to be that example.
I think a lot of people live their lives scared. No one wants to be
Mm,
first. And we talked about this off camera just a little bit. No one wants to be the first person to jump off that bridge,
mm,
right? But everyone respects the hell out of the first person that jumps off that bridge. You
mm,
know, and if you're the first person to jump, if you're the first person to put yourself out there, you may jump onto a rock and crack your skull. It's possible, right? You're the first person to jump. But if you make it, not only will everyone respect you for it, but they're going to follow.
yeah.
So I think that's a hard place because, again, you have to be willing to jump into the unknown. It's not an easy place to be, it's not an easy thing to do, but people respect the hell out of it, you know?
Yeah. No, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was piggybacking. Yeah, no, I totally agree. So, you know, just taking that leap, you know, it's scary, but you just got to do it. And I'm grateful to have, you know, a family that loves me. And, you know, I speak about my mom a lot because she is the type that'll just jump and go and do it.
Mm.
So that's kind of why I've picked up some things from her. But she's always, you know, my cheerleader saying, "Hey, Maja, who cares? Just go and just do it," you know. And
What's mama
I
like?
get,
You mentioned mama a lot. What's mama
oh,
like? Can
my
we say hi
mom
to
says
mom?
she's, huh?
Can we say hi to mom?
Oh, I mean, she's a little under the weather. She's just here for support, but um, she says hello.
Hi, mom.
She's yeah, yeah, she's a little sick. So, but she was born in the Philippines.
Mm.
Yeah, and my grandfather was part of the Navy, so it was on what American soil over there. Yeah, and they she came over here to the States in the 70s, and she, you know, landed in Iowa. So politics are really big in Iowa.
Mm.
And she's always had that background or interest. And, you know, when this stuff kind of, you know, with the whole Trump, even Trump and Hillary, that whole election, that was like a lot. It was a lot of talk from that. So from there till now, you know, my mom is from her knowledge back then till now was able to just put all everything together and she'll say stuff before like before Alex Jones will say something before like and it's not like he doesn't know her but it's like it might be the topic for today and she's
Mm.
already talking about this stuff and then he'll say something and you know and I'm like my mom is she's like a superhero low key.
Well, that's awesome. I love that, you guys are close, that um, she teaches a lot. And I
Hmm.
love that from Iowa.
Yeah.
Because there's something about Iowa, right? Like, I think someone said in the chat earlier, I didn't think people actually lived in Iowa.
Everyone says that all the time. I people make fun of me, especially in the industry. They're like Iowa.
Yeah.
Who's from Iowa? There's actually a lot of people from Iowa. T Boss from TLC, she's from Des Moines, Iowa.
Mm.
Ashton Kutcher, the guy who played Frodo Baggins in
Mm.
Lord of the Rings, I believe he's from Iowa. You know, I'm from Iowa, so yeah, we got
So
some
so there's
people,
like 7 people in Iowa.
right? Yeah.
We just named them all.
right?
No, I lived in Ohio for a long time. I lived in Ohio
Mm,
for like 8 years. So I relate to kind of the Midwest.
mm-hmm,
I loved living in the Midwest. It was something like really homey about living in the Midwest. People were just
mm-hmm.
really polite all the time. And people don't have the same problems and struggles that people in the cities have. There's such a it's like two different countries,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And LA is just going so crazy, so fast. And does it feel like people are getting frustrated because people people vote with their experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like in LA and LA area, especially being around the music industry, which is a huge part of what goes on in LA, do you feel like people are getting frustrated, or are the people that are so propagandized, are they completely content with what's going on?
Um, I feel like people, majority of California, I think they know what's up, and you can feel like the tension and the worry because
Mm,
it's always like what's gonna happen next because things have just went so far in California that it's like we're now kind of expecting something to go down. That's what I personally feel. I feel like that those that are in there so deep are just going to keep on going until the agenda consumes them. And I feel like that's just a handful of people, but I feel like California is pro Trump and we don't like Gavin Newsom and
hmm.
we want to be able to yeah, we really don't like Gavin Newsom. Do you know anybody that likes Gavin Newsom? No, yeah. Yeah, they're always talking bad on Gavin Newsom's page. So yeah, they sure did. All the celebrities left to Florida.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. Everyone's going to getting farmland and they're getting out of they're going to the red states now. And a lot of people left from California to like Austin, Texas, but only to what make it stay blue.
Mm.
I don't get about and I'm not like big on like the I've seen the people on the left. I
Mm.
don't really talk much about them. It's just really people that are under the spell of everything. That's what you guys are. You guys are gonna believe everything that's fed to you. But if we're gonna categorize in the left, they won't like what's going on in their blue state, so they'll leave to a red state and then still push those ideologies that ruined the state they were in that they fled. So it doesn't make sense, and those people are dangerous because you're just carrying the problem. You'll leave the problem to make more
Mm.
problems. Like how are you, I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't. It doesn't. And the only reason why I stop myself where I have to smile or laugh because off camera I'm like yelling mad to myself. I'm like, how are these people? It makes me gets on my nerves.
So you mentioned earlier, um, you know, something about California until I leave. Where would you go if you were to leave California? What's your top of the list?
Um, shoot. I try to look for like states that Bill Gates hasn't bought farmland in.
Is that a really short
But that's
list? I don't
kind
know
of
what
it's
the
kind of
list
getting
is,
hard
but
with that. Particularly a red state, and I bring up Trump because it, all his actions have shown that he has helped the American people. So I try to like look into people that he endorses as far as governors and other politicians. But I also want an area that's not city. That
mm,
I mean, I love the South. I love the Midwest. I'm not really crazy about the East Coast, or like or the West. Texas was a place, but then they got Texas. You see they're building immigration like camps
yeah,
for all the
camps all
people
over
that
the
are coming
place.
over. Yeah, and I'm like, dude, Texas is supposed to be hardcore America, and they got people are fleeing Texas now. And I'm just like, I feel like in this fight that we're fighting for, because we're fighting for our country, we need to be able to have like I said, home is safety. So
Mm,
a foundation and a place that is secure around like-minded individuals. In my neighborhood, it's I feel like it's a lot of people that think the same way. Hardworking people, men and women. The fathers here take care of their kids and look like they take care of the household. Um, I wish there were more places like that, but particularly they're not in blue states. So I don't know. I don't know. I had took a trip to Arkansas, like I think 2 years or a year or two ago, and this is before they didn't even have like gender neutral bathrooms, so they didn't even know what that was about. And they weren't wearing masks, but we had did an RV trip, and the water felt so good and warm. Like it was super cold, so we went in the winter, and the water just felt fresh um, and it's just different atmosphere, nature, and I'm born in Iowa, so like the countryside is more my speed, anyways.
I live in Georgia. I love Georgia. I love everything about Georgia. I know it's been a controversial state, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's as controversial as they make it seem. You know what I mean? Like they make it seem like it's flipping. It's not flipping. People here are conservative. People love their family. People care about this country. People care about just want to live their lives. I feel like that's really what Georgia is. And yes, there are pockets of every major city, and Atlanta is a pretty big city, so you're gonna get kind of the crazies. But most of the state is like amazing. I love Georgia. I've been here for I don't know 12 years now, and if I could live anywhere in the world, I would stay right where I'm at. And I don't feel like there's a lot of people that say that about where they live. I love where I am. And I recently moved, but I moved like, 10 towns over, like not that far. You mentioned country music, Nashville, Tennessee. Is Tennessee maybe on the radar? Would you
Yeah,
get
no,
into country music?
we were looking at Tennessee.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people went over to Tennessee too. But no, Tennessee, we were looking in Kentucky as well, Mississippi, definitely looked at Georgia. Georgia would be great for me musically.
Mm.
But then if I'm around a state like that, I can always just drive or like fly there. But I have a lot of people that are like in the industry waiting for me to like, oh, come down here. It's way better scene.
Yeah.
The demographic here will understand you better. And, I had a show back in like 2019. We were doing a tour and we stopped in Atlanta and everyone was so cool there. And, I have influencer friends and, they were cool around me when I was down there. So, yeah, I might have to check that out.
Yeah, I love it here. I think this is the best. It's my favorite place in the world. I mean, I travel all over the world, and every time I come back to Georgia, I'm like, "Ah, I'm home," because there's like a lot of trees, everything's green, there's fresh air, there's everything that you need and within reach. Maybe not the closest, but there's everything that you need. But you can easily just go a couple of miles and you're separated from all. So I love it about here. You mentioned country music, like, and you've been listening to it. Is that something that you get into? Country music? I feel like
Definitely,
that'd be so cool
definitely.
if you made like a country track. Because I'm
Thank
thinking,
you. No, oh, go ahead, go
well,
ahead.
I'm thinking about that guy that got really big online on TikTok, I think, um, that does the country music and rapping, and he did something with Darius Rucker, Dax,
Oh, yes, yeah, I seen him. Yeah.
and he's making like this super based content
Hmm.
in his videos, and I thought that was interesting because it was so different at the time. Now, like a lot more people are doing it, uh, but it was like for a specific demographic. It was like I don't care if half the country doesn't listen to me,
Hmm.
but I'm gonna make music that I care about that even may only appeal to half the country, but that's still a lot of damn people these days.
Yeah.
You know, what do you think about country music? Being in Georgia, when I first moved to Georgia, I was like, I hate country music. It's so twangy. I don't get it. The longer I'm here, I'm like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah.
It starts to make sense. It's like one of those slow burners. It takes time. What do you think about
Yeah.
country music?
No, I love country music. My mom, she's always played all types of music, and um, these past few years when we were building this home, my mom's very handy. We all help each other out. We were playing this 80s country playlist on Apple Music. You have the Kenny Rogers, Dolly Parton, and all these other artists, and you're like, yo, the messages in these songs and the real instruments being played, and it's so simple, and just the frequency of it, it feels fresh, it feels bright, And even with the mainstream country music now, the Sam Hunts, the Morgan Wallens, and all these other different artists, and you listen to their messages, it hasn't really changed that much. And I feel like now these other artists, these mainstream artists, are trying to slide over to country, and I'm like, I need to get back, because like it's there to have a good time. It's there to tell a story, even if it's like, oh, I cheated on my woman, but I learned from my mistakes, and I never want to lose you. We're not having the same messages that are in R&B and hip hop when it comes to country music. So it's crazy that you mentioned it. I've been working on a country EP,
Okay.
and I have a song that's definitely patriotic country record that it brings me to tears when I listen to it, because I've always been a fighter all my life with everything that I'm doing, and I have to fight in the music lane, and I have to tell my story, and I feel like this record definitely speaks for the people as well. So I'm excited to get that stuff done and get it out, because I feel like a lot of people would like it.
Yeah, I mean, I just love music so much. And again, no musical talent, but I love it. I just relate to it. I love listening to it. I love being around it. And I've actually had a couple people, like physically, that come into the podcast that are in the music business, or maybe singers or people. I had one guy on one, Nick Poulin was his name. And Nick, I was in Myrtle Beach vacationing with my family. And we were there, and it was like one of these Sunday evenings, and it was like the perfect time of night, like golden hour. The sun was perfect, the weather was perfect. I had just spent the day with my daughter on the beach, her first time at the beach. Just the best day, best family day. And we're sitting there in one of these kind of outdoor areas with kind of the bars and restaurants. And there's this guy just playing his guitar and singing, kind of doing that whole ordeal. And I sat there with my wife and my daughter, and we sat there listening to him sing for like maybe an hour. It's just, you'd start listening, and it was just good. And it just capped off the perfect day. So I listened to him. And I think like 2 months later, I was like, I want to have him on the podcast. I don't know anything about him. I just know that he was a part of that one moment that I'm going to remember for the rest of my life. And it's crazy how music does that, And he came on, he did some singing. We did a live stream together just on Instagram, and he was taking requests and playing, because, he plays in front of restaurants. It's fantastic, by the way. And I just remember that, just how much music means to me. And I don't know, I feel like I'm coming back full circle. And to see kind of the craziness that goes behind the scenes of music, I feel like it doesn't have to be that way. Good music is good music, And some of the music that we hear that we're force-fed, some of it's garbage.
My mom said it's all garbage. No, it's sad. And then I'm mixed with Black, so being a part of the Black community, right? It's all poison. It's like they're being targeted, And when I say I know people like to take things out of. I look at it as a person that I have woken up, so I'm not going to consume what they're pushing on me. So I can say from the outside and say they're being poisoned, because I did not continue to be poisoned. There's a lot of music. I used to listen to Future. I used to listen to all these rappers, and I'm looking at their lyrics. They're selling drugs. They're talking about killing people, prostitution, making, like what happened to songs about love, or I just want to go out and have fun, or, I'm pulling myself out of a dark time right now. Like, you can talk about dark stuff, but like, what about the motivation? We're being sold poison, and it's, what'd you say, Mom?
They make
Chance, yeah, it definitely is. And you see at the concert, I seen somebody in the chat say something about Taylor Swift, and I forgot, she's one of the biggest artists out here, and she comes up with that video. I don't know if it's with Ice Spice, who's another big artist that's being pushed, and they have this one scene where it looks similar to Lil Nas X, and it's the she's like wearing a Satanist mask and all this other stuff, and that's not her brand. I remember her, this young, country girl when she's
Just
strumming a guitar and all this other stuff. So, and they're crossing their audience with the black community and different
mm,
artists from the black community. So it's like everyone in the industry is like working together because they work for these other people. I was watching the news for, I think it was for the Grammys, and it was like, brought to you by Pfizer
mm.
and all this other stuff. So when you have a sponsor, aren't they like paying for the program, and they get to tell you what they want on, and next thing you know, Sam Smith is in a whole, booty shorts and a horns and stuff like that, and
Sam Smith
like,
really messed me up.
that was a shocker.
Because when I first heard Sam Smith, I was like, wow, this guy like sings really well. And I
Hmm.
was like, it's so passionate, it's so good. And I was like, this guy's really good at what he does. And then you see the evolution. I'm like, what? I feel like I was duped.
Right.
I was like, I was kind of angry at myself because I'm like, this guy is so good. And I was willing to look past like everything that's kind of weird about him because he's always kind of a weird, eccentric guy. I was okay with all of it. And then he comes out in just the craziest, like drag, satanic, like literally dressed as Satan. And I was
Mm,
like, I did not see this coming.
no. And I feel like because, I mean, I've heard you mention this a lot, like we're in a spiritual
Mm,
war, and they have an agenda. I actually have Klaus Schwab's book, and by 2030, they want us to own nothing and be happy.
mm,
And I feel like the music sector, they have a program for that and what all these artists need to do in order to pledge their allegiance and show them who they work for. And we all see who they work for, and they show it. And that's all a part of, you know, normalizing this type of, I don't even know what it's called. I mean, it's their religion, right? That's the religion they
mm.
believe in because that's who they're constantly showing their support for. And it's just ridiculous. There's a lot of like demonic stuff in LA. I think they just did like a gaming thing, like an idea in the sky, where it's
Hmm.
like this edit and it's like this demonic character coming out of the sky, and it's just, when are we gonna get a break here?
I feel
It's
like I feel like with the culture war that we have, because war, and I hate the word war, but this is a war. I feel like the people that are gonna help win the war and the people that are at the front lines that really have the ability to make the biggest difference. I think it's two categories of people. I think it's comedians
mm-hmm,
because being able to tell the other side through humor, it makes it
mm-hmm,
relatable and it makes it understandable and it introduces ideas to you that you never thought. I think comedians have the ability to make the biggest difference, and musicians have the ability to make the biggest difference. Because again, music everyone can relate to. Everyone can understand good music is good music. And even if it's not according to the satanic agenda or whatever, or or selling drugs or whatever else, which they're trying to normalize, a good song is a good song. If you can relate to it, you relate to it. So I feel like those are the two places that are the most important right now because this is what's going to capture the hearts and minds of the world. Nothing goes more viral quickly than a song or a
mm-hmm.
good joke. I could sit here and talk like this for hours and days nonstop. It's never going to have the impact of music, you know?
Yeah, and I feel like I kind of spoke about these matters in my album that I
Mm,
just put out, The Great Reset. Lost My Mind. I talk about, and it's R&B, so obviously people that like R&B will listen to it. But I try to like keep that type of those type of topics in my messages for my music. Not every song's gonna be that way,
of
but
course.
I feel like as artists they think that when you're talking about these topics, like it's going to sound corny or something like that. And it's like, no, you can express, you don't have to be so detailed on, oh, say certain people's names that are out here, causing the chaos, but you can relate to people with a story similar or what you're going through. Like, I think that guy Oliver, he's like redheaded and
Mm,
he went viral,
yeah.
and he was just talking about how, I believe he's talking about how men are struggling and make ends meet and whatnot, and anybody can relate to that. So, sorry. So yeah, definitely music can touch people. And just I feel like if, as long as you make it in a way where you feel like you can listen to it every day, and people can relate to it, it definitely can get the message out there faster.
Well, that said, what is the best way for people to download your music if they want to hear your music, if they want to support what you're doing? How can they go out and get your music? Because independently distributed, not the easiest. What's the best format to get your music?
So right now I have my album on all platforms, streaming platforms. So that's Apple Music, Spotify. You can buy it on iTunes. I was really proud of myself because the first day I actually went top 20 on the
Mm,
R&B chart with less than 2 hours without no team, and then the next day went 16. But I was on my way to make I was getting ready to make merch
mm.
and physical copies because I feel like that's important. That's how artists really eat, is when you're buying physical copies. But as an independent artist, because I own my music, I own 100% of it. So I'm trying to get that to happen, the physical copies, because I feel like, you want to actually have something from the artist, a physical thing. Later years down the road, you'll be like, oh, I got their first CD. Because what if the grid goes out and you don't have Spotify or Apple anymore? But that, for right now, it's on Apple and Spotify,
Are you gonna
and
print some vinyl?
I would love to, but that costs money. So I'm gonna have to start me a GoFundMe,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna get to get that cracking because, whew, it's hard out here.
I mean, it's not easy starting off on your own as a musician, as an artist. It may be the most difficult thing in the world
Mhm.
because as good as music is, as much as people relate to it, getting people to hear it is so difficult because the main channels are owned by three companies. And I think most people don't understand. Three companies own all of music.
Mhm.
They own all of it. So everything you see, everything you hear, even to get your track to be on TikTok as a song that's played, it costs money. And a lot of artists go platinum because they get played on TikTok so many times. Like, cause that counts, which is crazy.
Yeah, and what was it's crazier is that someone earlier in the year pretended to be me through a different artist, was able to get my music taken off of Instagram
Huh.
and TikTok and stuff like that, and uploaded my original music to their artist profile. So I had to go and contact all these platforms and have it taken down, and that was right after being released from the label. So I was like so stressed out because I was like, I don't have no team. I have to figure out how to get this person taken out. I couldn't even promote my music because it was going to go to that person's page. And yeah, the streaming stuff helps when it's going to you. And it's able to go viral on TikTok and stuff like that. But they changed it up now. I believe I saw a video of Snoop Dogg talking about he got a $1 billion plaque, or billion stream plaque, on Spotify, and he had his publisher go do the numbers, and he said that he made like a little less than $44,000
That's
from a billion,
crazy. Off
over
a
a billion
billion
streams.
views?
Yeah, I'm telling you, these artists we're getting robbed. And then there's someone, yeah, that exactly. That's why they have to sell the agenda, because you don't really make money off of music,
And
you
isn't
know.
that what Kanye said?
What did he-
Isn't that what Kanye said? That we're getting robbed, that this is not right? And they're like, you're crazy. This is not true.
Right. Yeah, he said a lot that now people are backtracking, like, oh yeah, we rock with Kanye, and as long as it's to your benefit,
Yeah.
and if it it's good
Quick,
for your narrative.
they were quick to cancel, and now that they find out that he's not that cancelable, that people still ride with him, like, oh no, we like him too. It's funny how that works,
Yeah.
but that proves the point where you just got fight through the cancellation, fight through the shadow ban, fight through all of it, because eventually, if you stay genuine to who you are, if you stay real, people realize like, oh shit, times are tough, and they didn't change who they were,
Yeah.
and that's not the easiest thing to do. but it's proven over and over and over again that that's the model to win.
No, definitely. And that's why I'm here to tell my story. I know I didn't really go too deep in that, you know, or like really finish that, but you know, I was dealing with a lot of aggression. You know, I was walked up on. You know, another artist that was getting was in the meeting that I wasn't told about. She told me like, yeah, he's on some fuck shit. So she was sleeping with him. So like, I'm like, okay. So this is the way she's advancing because she's sleeping with him. And later down the road, that might be a possibility for me. And I tried to make sure that I put boundaries up and got parents involved, and that wasn't good enough to the point where I got my album done, was getting ready to release a single, and I get a call the same day they said we're gonna move with a single. I get a call saying, "Hey, we're releasing you because we want you to be happy." And I was like, I'm not asking to be released. I'm asking to release my music. So, um, amongst that journey of thinking that I can have a fresh new start with this new label venture, and then I just got hit with the truth. Like, you can't move forward because they want X, Y, and Z, and you tried your best. So now it's move forward, you know, as independent, create your own music with messages, connect with people, and just keep on going because, you know, Kanye, he spoke out about the truth, and now everyone, he's like the most streamed right now. So, you know, it's very inspiring to see. And like you said, it is scary to be one of the first people. And, you know, as a female in the music industry, to speak up about, hey, this is what's going on in the industry. You know, I've had a lot of bad comments saying I'm a liar and all this other stuff. And, you know, I'm not going to come out here and just say someone did something and they didn't, you know.
I
And,
watched
and
the Jason Derulo apology video. That motherfucker looks guilty as shit. Right? He's like staring at the camera. Like, "Oh, this is not right." I was like, bro, someone on your team should have been like, dude, you look so guilty. Redo it. Right? Like, what are they doing around him? Someone could have easily
it
told
looked
him, this is not a good video. No one's going to believe you. This is probably the worst response ever. Let's just take two.
A lot of people pointed out and felt like it was an AI video. And I was looking at his facial shape and it doesn't look the same. But I could be off or whatever. It's very disappointing to see someone just flat out just deny everything. And, you know, I'm not expecting them to come forward and
Yeah.
say anything that they did, right? But he said something about, oh, I'm all for someone chasing their dreams. And that was like a stab to my chest because, okay. It was a stab to my chest because you approached me wanting to sign me to help my career. And and wasted all this time and then invaded my privacy, disrespected me, and made me feel so uncomfortable and put me in positions that I should have never been in. And you're a supporter of someone chasing their dreams, but you ruined my dream, you know? You took everything from me, you know, and my contract didn't say I had to do goat skin and fish scales. My contract said I was supposed to release an album and a mixtape, and you're supposed to be on my single as a feature, and I didn't get none of that, you know. So, yeah, I can't believe he was so quick and was so sure to put out something like that. But that's what these people are. They're gonna come out and they're gonna try to save face, and you know, act like nothing ever happened. You know, I was a whole artist signed to your label. You know, and you didn't help me with my career. I didn't even get a chance to release a record. But you're for people chasing their dreams. So yeah, it's very disappointing. And so I feel like sometimes I'm going crazy because I have to like have moments where I'm by myself and I have to just kind of like yell out my frustrations and like, I can't believe these people operate like that. And then on top of that, it's a contract. So now people are like, F paperwork. But why did we have to sign paperwork to move forward if it's not going to matter now? So, yeah, it's very, very disappointing.
I mean, it's unfortunately it's happened to you in the music industry. And the reality is, unfortunately, it happens to people in all the industries right now. People who had an agenda, regardless of what that agenda was. And if you didn't comply, they ruin your life. And it's happened to people all over the world in every single sector of business. And I just want to say, you're not alone. Because there is a community of people that are feeling like they got screwed. And people are looking for someone that understands what that feels like. And obviously, you understand that because every time you talk about it, you can see like you get emotional about it. And I think there's a lot of people that can relate to that because they're feeling screwed as well because it sucks. A lot of these things that happen aren't your fault. You didn't ask for this. You just wanted to do the best version with the opportunity that you have. And for things to go in a way that's out of your control completely. And I say out of your control because you had control. You could have complied, but that's not fair, right? In order to retain the resemblance of yourself and who you want to be and who you feel like you are, you chose not to sell out, not to go that road. There's a lot of people doing that, and that's the hardest road there is to be that person, you know? So I don't know. I just want to encourage you that I think you're doing the right thing. I think you're doing the right way. I think there's hope. I think there's promise at the end of the road. I know it feels like such a big moment in your life. And I feel like it's something that you probably replay over and over and over again. There is so much life ahead of you. There's so many huge and big opportunities ahead of you. You know, it seems so easy to say, let it go. And I don't want to say that. But there's so much more opportunity in the future. Maybe it's just got to look forward, you know?
Yeah, I feel like that's been the message for this week because usually I learn something very like I'm a very emotional person and I like hold principle and value like it's like my structure, my rubric of how I am as a person and how I can move forward and grow as a person. So every week I have like a lesson and this week I've been getting a lot of messages intuitively like you just gotta like let it go. And just let it work itself out. Because the more I spend time just talking about it, I'm wasting time moving forward and actually creating the life that I can have. So yeah, it's really tough. And, you know, even when I think about the stuff that's going on in the world or trying to use my platform, I'm so all in at one moment and I'm trying to figure out how I can just combine both and balance it out.
Balance.
And, and I think a part of that is just letting that part go. But every day something will remind you. And, so I feel like I'm kind of at the end of that cycle or chapter. But I do hold grudges. I really do. I really do. So
it's so hard.
I just gotta.
It's so hard to let it go. But I think one day you're gonna let go of the grudge, and it's gonna be like the most freeing feeling in the world.
Yeah, I'll throw it. I'll throw it in the back so I don't see it, and then when the right time, we'll bring it back and go.
Thank you for so much for coming on the stream today. Thank you for hanging out with me, conversing with me, teaching me. I think it's amazing. I'd love to have you back on in the future. I want to do some politics stuff, but we went quite a while already. I want to come back and get your perspective because I think you have like a very unique perspective that's different than maybe the perspectives that people hear, that is different than what we're accustomed to hear. I would love to have you on, and I want to do something in the future where we bring in different guests, we react to different news, and I would love to have you on as kind of a voice on that, you know?
I'd love to.
I think that'd be a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be great because I'd be wanting to get it off my chest. So let's go.
I'm thinking out loud right now, but I think that'd be a lot of fun. If we got people from different perspectives, different demographics, different age groups, different everything, and see how people react to similar type of news, I think that'd be a fun show. What do you think? Now I'm just completely talking off my top of my head.
No, I think the circle, right? The circle of life. Sometimes they call it the circle.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, what happened to just sit down and talking?
Yeah.
Like I feel like people just disregarded that whole thing, and or everyone's so used to having like, or at least for the younger generation, and I brought this up to my mom, like these kids don't want to listen to their parents, but they'll go listen to the government or the news or something like that. Doesn't make sense. How about we just erase all of that stuff and off of the topic that we're talking about, or we get to see a video that happened earlier in the day. Okay, let's look at it. What do you think is wrong with this topic, or what is your perspective, without getting ears or getting told from other platforms how to think. You know what I'm saying? What happened to just talking and thinking for yourself?
Yeah.
What happened to that? So I think that'd be perfect to get perspective from all walks of life.
I think it'd be great. I look forward to it. We'll have you back on in the future, and we'll leave the links to everything and how people can find you and how people can find streaming music. I watched a couple of the music videos. I think they're fantastic. I think they're great. I think your music is amazing. You're beautiful. And I think you're going to be great in the future. So I have nothing but the highest hopes and aspirations for what you're doing. And I don't know. I'm just grateful that you're here today. Okay.
Thank you for having me. This is kind of like the highlight of my week.
And everyone else, definitely go give Emaza a follow. Damn,
Thank you guys for tuning in.
Did I mess up your name already?
I think you said it right, Emaza.
I did. Okay.
Yay.
I'm going to get better. Thank you, everyone. See you next time. Oh, tomorrow we're interviewing Tucker Carlson. No, Thursday we're interviewing Tucker Carlson, noon, 12 p.m., which is crazy. Can I tell you? Did I tell you that?
No, I think you mentioned that lightly, but it's the fact that it's coming up after this one. Woo!
It's so crazy. And I don't, now I'm rambling. It's not something I ever thought would happen. I started like doing this stuff maybe like 11 months ago, 8 months ago, kind of started growing. And all of a sudden I'm going to sit down with Tucker. Like, what?
Congratulations.
What?
That's big.
What?
Right. That's your early Christmas present.
It is. And I've always been a huge fan, and it's so crazy. And I don't know, fanboying. Look at me, fanboying.
We love Tucker.
Really?
He's one of the ones on the front lines,
Yeah.
He lost his job too.
That's true. Makes it more relatable.
Right.
Well, thank you, Emaza. Thank you, everyone.
Right.
And we'll see you, I think, tomorrow.
Bye.
Have a good day, everybody.